terms of the industry spread, as I said, if we compare ourselves to other top leagues, so I've taken the La Liga, English Premiership, as well as Bundesliga. So the PSL is the donut in the inside. On the outside is the Bundesliga. The second donut from the inside is the Premiership, and La Liga is the third donut. Two things that you can see there that globally, certainly for those three industries, the red there and the blue, those financial services as well as the betting and gaming, those are major investors in the sport. And you can see for us that we are significantly under invested in gaming. There's only one player who's active there at the professional football level, and that is certainly an area of opportunity that we'll talk about. But on the whole, we have a pretty good balance of industries compared to everyone else. And when one compares us to other leagues, you can see that we have a pretty wide spread, except, as you can see, that from a telecoms is a major player in these, and specifically, just for the record, this is now looking just at club partnerships as opposed to the league as well as clubs. So what we did as well is then take both leagues as well as the individual clubs. So we took some of the top clubs from around the world. In Africa, we have Orlando Pirates, who certainly in South Africa have built the most not ambitious, but the best commercial model of all of South African teams in terms of the industry spread and how they've put that together. Al Ahly is the other team that we've looked at. And then we looked at other teams. We've got Sao Paulo from South America. We've got America from Mexico. We've got Kashima Antlers from Japan. So we've looked at different teams. The exercise really was about understanding who are the most consistent backers of football across the world. And those are the 7 industries. I call them the Magnificent 7, that effectively are showing up in every football league around the world and every football club. Travel and tourism, automobile and accessories. So that's vehicles, that's tires, etc., etc. Financial services, betting and gambling, beverage, both hot and cold, ICT, which really includes IT companies, mobile, telecoms within the space, and then food and snacks. And so generally, if you were a football club owner, those are the places that you want to go to first if you're looking for a commercial partner, because you're most likely to get a fair hearing from them than anyone else. And if you look at a league specifically, so the sponsors of the league, the PSL, if you look in that graph there, diagram 12, you can see that there is about four industries that the PSL has partnerships with: beverage and telecoms, financial services, and there's one other. Anyway, the long and short of it is that the PSL does have a number of opportunities that it could still build a really, really powerful commercial model, and they're all on the left-hand side. You know, PSL still doesn't have an official ball partner. It still doesn't have a timing partner. It still doesn't have a gaming or esport partner. So all of those are opportunities for the PSL to ramp up its commercial model and perhaps, generate more revenues in this space and be less reliant on broadcast revenues. So there's one of the things, one thing that we did over the couple of weeks was to do a survey which covered essentially all of the major federations that are members of SASCOC. And here are the conclusions that came out of the survey. One is that indeed the impact on the sport is severe for the sport as a whole. Two is that it's quite clear that there is no one solution for how sport is going to manage this, because firstly, the nature of the income streams are very different. Generally, when we talk about sport, we always say that television is the biggest driver of revenues. But as you go down to smaller sports, actually it is events and memberships and subscriptions that are the biggest sources of revenue for them. So when there are no events, there are no people, then they literally are dry. There's nothing else coming in, because for them, broadcast revenue is neither here nor there. So it's important that when the ministry tries to resolve some of these, that they take that into account. The sports leaders say that most of them would lose up to half of their revenues if sport doesn't resume by October 2020. While everyone obviously is keen to get back and play as quickly as possible, the survey found that not many are confident that they will be able to resume play within a restricted environment. So sanitize the facilities and abide by all the protocols required to play sport in this restricted environment. And then finally, nearly everyone said that the COVID-19 and what's happened has given them more pause to really think quite seriously about future-proofing their business going forward. This slide is really an attempt to show what different sports and how they generate value throughout the year. So for purposes of this conversation, I'm going to focus on the bottom sport, which is football, that green big chart at the bottom. As you can see, that essentially sports value generation peaks in May and peaks in around December. So if you think of COVID-19 as having been with us from March to where we are now, June, you can see that football, of all of the sports, has taken the biggest hit of all of the sports. I mean, golf there, which is black, you can see that golf in many ways has kind of dodged the bullet. It could have been far worse, but perhaps of all of the sport, golf is the one that looks like it has gotten off much more lightly. And it differs for different sports. So again, when you start thinking about who's taken the most hit, this kind of chart gives you a sense. And then the next issue really is around conquering Africa. I mean, I truly believe that part of what South African football has to aim for, I mean, if we continue to see our league as being the best on the continent, then that should show up on the field. And I did this little exercise, which effectively does two things. It shows if you were to play all of the PSL matches in the Premier Division and win all the four titles on offer, the league and the 3 cup competitions, you would earn, at the time of doing this, it was 30 million, but I mean, with the new prize money, that's up to 35 million, I think it is now. But you play 43 games in the process, and that works out to be 680,000 rands a game of what you earn in those 43 games. But if you play a CAF Champions League, you play 14 games, you win yourself 35 million at the time of doing this. That number is about 43 million rand now if you take the current exchange rate. That works out to be 2.5 million rand a match. In addition to that, if you win Champions League, you then get another 28 million rand that is almost guaranteed, or at least half of that is guaranteed, because that half of that is effectively what FIFA gives you as preparation fee, $1 million, and essentially a South African football, a South African team should I'm sorry, let me go back. An African champion should aim to get to the semi-finals of the World Club Championship, and that guarantees you 28 million rand. So just on the numbers alone, it absolutely makes sense. But also beyond that, you then begin to place your players and your team on a global stage. The valuation of your team, the profile of your club, and the brand of your club takes a significant positive boost as a result of that. Of course, these numbers I've shared here exclude the cost scenario. They exclude the pain that teams take from traveling in terms of the toll on the performance, etc., etc. But all of that taken into account, it still makes sense, to want to do that. Even if you look at the CAF Confederation Cup, if you get to the quarterfinals of the CAF Cup, CAF Confederations Cup, quarterfinals, which really should be a bare minimum for a South African team competing in this competition. A quarterfinal guarantees you 6.3 million. If you win the CAF Confederation Cup, you get 23 million. If you get to the semi-final, to quarterfinals of the CAF Champions League, you get 11.5 million. So just, and then you can start adding, of course, the other revenues that come with that. And of course, there's costs. I mean, the PSL, by its own admission, says that its cost of football matches in this country runs between 300 and 500,000 per match, depending on what category match it is. So you can begin to make up your numbers to see that. I cannot understand how anyone would argue that CAF Champions League or CAF competitions are not worth the effort.